Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. Welcome to our college football playoff semifinal preview. Now, Tyson, in the old days, this was just the beginning of the college football playoff. But now we've got two rounds in. We're into the final four. Penn State takes on Notre Dame. Ohio State takes on Texas. And we have some bangers on our hands, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. This is if you squint hard enough, this might have been the four teams that made it into a college football playoff back in the day. But these teams earned it, Brad. Like this is, they beat who they beat to get here, and we'll talk about all that. But I am really excited for this one. I don't know if we have the true four best teams in the country left, and I don't care because they played a playoff to get here, and that's what it's about. So let's get into it. This is going to be a hard-hitting, fast, physical week of football. These are the teams we wanted to have left at least.
This feels like this is college football, right? You got some high flying stuff. You got some people who want to play physical, and so let's get into it. Penn State, my Penn State Nittany Lions take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This is going to take place on Thursday night. Boy, I got to admit, Tyson, I'm going to be at a wedding. I'm getting there that night. It's Penn State wedding. We're going to have some guys juiced up and ready to go. 7:30 Eastern on ESPN in the Orange Bowl. So I know a lot of people are going down there. This Florida, I was at the Fiesta Bowl, Tyson. There's not a lot of Penn State people. We're outnumbered. They're going to be going to this game. That's the word on the street. I would expect Notre Dame to travel. So I think we're going to get a good 50-50 split here.
Yeah, this is awesome too for the sport of college football because like when we were growing up, these are the games our dads would talk about as like this is a rivalry, right? These are two teams that when these two teams played, that's college football. So it's nice to see that this is brought back a little bit. I haven't played in a while, and it's fantastic. This is not your Notre Dame teams of the Brian Kelly era or Charlie Weiss or whatever else you have in your head. This team is a Big Ten team. This is an SEC football team the way they play, and then Penn State guys. Let it go about all this Penn State stuff that you had in your head from before the season or after they lost to Ohio State or even when they lost to Oregon in the Big Ten championship, because I think I'm the only one in the country that was encouraged by that performance. This team is rolling right now. And I know, Drew Aller only completed 50% of his passes. He might only need to do that for this team to win games. And it's the same thing on the other side of the ball. If you are looking for efficient, elite quarterback play, it might not be the game for you. But if you are looking for guys that make you scratch your head and go, how did he make that throw right there? Or, wow, I didn't realize he was that athletic. That is this game. This is, I said it last week, this is a shout out to Jordan Lynch and those guys from yesteryear with bigger arms. And I think that this one's going to come down to who can run the football better. And this is two of the best running back rooms in the last decade almost.
Yeah, and they're two of the best run-stopping units as well. And so I got to do the compulsory little advanced statistics preview here. I mean, again, we're not going to get too many edges here, but this is something notable. Notre Dame's offense, first in EPA per rush. Penn State's defense, fourth in EPA per rush. Notre Dame offensively through the air, 26 in EPA per dropback. Penn State defensively, seventh in EPA per dropback. Let's go to the other side. Penn State on offense, 13th in EPA per run, fourth in EPA per dropback against a defense in Notre Dame that is fifth and first in those categories. We're Final Four teams. We're expected to be good. What stands out to me here, and this is going to go into my breakdown, Notre Dame dropping back and throwing the football is not that effective. I think anybody that watches, I mean, in terms of EPA per play, right? Like that's expected points added. Every time you drop back, are you expected to add points on the board with the result? What happens with Riley Leonard? That is a dink and dunk type of offense. We saw that against Georgia. We saw that against Indiana. And I got to tell you, if he's going to dink and dunk against Penn State, Notre Dame is not going to win this football game. That is what Tom Allen wants them to do. The defensive coordinator for Penn State, they are fast. They are able to rally. The way you beat Penn State is attacking them aggressively down the sideline, aggressively attacking them up the seam. That's what Oregon was able to do. That's what Ohio State was able to do at times. USC had the success a little bit with that when they had Penn State on the brink. Every other team has not been able to do that, and that's why Penn State is standing here. On the flip side, Notre Dame's defense, they've been able to stop the run. Penn State, this is the best offense, best on the ground that this offense has looked. Kaytron Allen looks like a completely different player. Nick Singleton, I mean, it's kind of like Jekyll and Hyde, but in a good way. Like, who's going to take over this way in this game? And this could be a Singleton game, get the speed on the corner. So those are the two things that I'm watching here, because if Notre Dame is able to just drop back and let their elite secondary unit kind of eat up a poor wide receiving group as we've seen Penn State have against these elite guys, it's going to be a tough one. But Penn State can move the ball on the ground, and that's going to set everything up.
Yeah, I think this game honestly comes down a lot to the Notre Dame playmakers on the outside, and if those guys can go make the plays. Because I don't have any doubt that they're going to try to dink and dunk, but I know I've seen Riley Leonard play a lot of college football, and I think that there are going to be times where he just says, you know what, screw it, I'm going to try to take this and make this play right here. And if those guys on the outside, the wide receivers, tight ends, running backs on wheels and stuff like that can make the play, then they're going to be well positioned to win this football game. But Brad, you mentioned it's been a poor receiving group for Penn State this season. It's been a poor receiving group for Penn State for a long time. None of those teams have Tyler Warren. This team does. And I think that this is another game that we're going into where you go, well, they could hit him over the middle of the field. Well, who's that going to be? Oh, 44. Okay. And then all of these other things. And by the way, I'm Mr. Nick Singleton on this podcast. You've been a little bit more 𝐾𝐿 this season. That breakaway run for Singleton there last week was huge, I think, to get the confidence going. Now it's a true two-headed monster. Notre Dame struggled to run the football a little bit against Georgia, but it's Georgia. That's a higher-level class opponent that they've played essentially all year long. I think Penn State's a little bit more physical. I think they're a little faster, and I do think that Notre Dame has to jump on them. You have to come out and, start this. You kind of everybody wants to, but like you want to do what Ohio State did to Oregon last week, where you just look up and it's like, oh, this offense is moving the ball. Because if they get into a negative game script and this Penn State pass rush can just tuck their ears back, we said it a week ago and it didn't necessarily come to fruition. I expect that this group they're little, but they're physical on the whole as a defensive line.
And we need for Penn State, and I'm got to say we here because I'm rooting for hard. This would be sick. This would be insane. Abdul Carter's got to be healthy. He's got to be available. And I know some of my guys, my friends, like, well, I think we should wrestle for the championship game. I'm like, brother, you can't do that. You can't think like that because you got to win this game. There is no tomorrow. Abdul Carter's a game wrecker. He's a difference maker. Riley Leonard's a mobile quarterback. How did Penn State shut down Kevin Jennings, right? Like they talked about it. Kevin Jennings is a weapon with his legs. Freaking James Franco was calling him Lamar Jackson. Like that's who reminds him of. Yada, yada. Gassing him up beforehand. Did Kevin Jennings do anything besides throw interceptions that game? No, because Abdul Carter was doing creative stuff, dropping back, spy, this, that, using his previous linebacker ability to go and just wreck the game. If Abdul Carter's in, I expect him to do something similar. I don't think he's going to do that the entire time, but I think he's going to do some drop coverage. I think he's going to be able to go back and kind of spy Riley Leonard if he's going to do some designed runs. If he's not, now you're having a linebacker do that. Takes away the secondary. I think Riley Leonard's experienced enough where he can, if you're not getting the pressure on him, carve up this inexperienced secondary. Like I know we have a full season here, but there's still 13 games in their careers. Sometimes not a lot of reps before that if they're sophomores or juniors. So keep that in mind here. But Abdul Carter is going to be a huge factor going into this.
Yeah, absolutely. And like he's banged up. Riley Mills is hurt for Notre Dame, and that was a big deal for them too. And they were able to get after Gunnar Stockton and they had 4 sacks and like 9 tackles for loss, something like that. I think that Penn State's offense is going to be a little bit more efficient than Georgia's was, and you're not going to get those same opportunities here for Notre Dame. And I think that might be what does them in this football game, because I don't think that this one is going to be a 35-34 type of football game. I think this is take the points when you can get them and make sure that you can get them. I think Penn State's offense is just a little bit better at that at this point in the season than Notre Dame.
Let's move over to Ohio State, Texas, Tyson. Now, a lot of people are calling this one, the main squeeze, right? And I think probably that's what it's billed to be just based on how good Ohio State has been, the ability that Texas has to score points and honestly, physicality-wise, potentially hang with Ohio State here. We'll get into our game picks here coming up later. This is going to be in Arlington, Texas. Do you want to talk about a home field advantage for Texas? Ohio State guys are going to travel, and this isn't the Cowboy Stadium where you got home fans selling their tickets to the away fans here. I think Texas is going to show up, show out. I think it's going to be a lot of burnt orange in the stands. So the swagger is back for Ohio State, though. Texas is kind of like exhaling and saying, phew, boy, I think we kind of got away with one here. A lot of the conversations about is this the best team that we've seen in a long time around Ohio State? It is a completely different fever pitch than it was just 3 weeks ago. Where are you looking at in this one? And we'll start there.
First of all, 2019 LSU, 2001 Miami. Some of these things they're never losing that game to Michigan. So you can calm down. I know they just beat the crap out of Tennessee and Oregon. But let's cool it a little bit with the greatest team of all time. So 2020 Bama puts these guys behind the woodshed. Okay, Quinn Ewers has to play perfect. He has to play mistake-free football for Texas to win this football game. I am not a Quinn Ewers guy. I've never seen Quinn Ewers play mistake-free football, so that might tell you which way I'm leaning in this. Ohio State. They needed that loss to Michigan because Chip Kelly woke up and realized, oh, Jeremiah Smith is the best player in the country. I am allowed to just throw him the ball 10, 12 times a game. I can throw it to Emeka on the other side, 8 times a game. We can move the ball this way. Their defense is like flown under the radar during this whole thing. You only get up 34-0, Brad, when your defense allows 0 points to a crazy talented Oregon offense, and you only dominate Tennessee like that when your defense doesn't allow this offense that much maligned by us. I think the sentiment around them was that they can be high flying, but Tennessee couldn't run the ball. Tennessee's been running the ball on everybody all year long. So the Ohio State defense gets a little bit of love here for me. But I do think that in order for Texas to win this football game, you got to keep that offense on the sideline, and you got to churn clock. You got to continuously get first downs, and then you got to go big play hunting. I know Quinn Ewers can do one of those things. But when you go big play hunting, you open yourself up to turnovers. And that is going to be the biggest issue here for Steve Sarkisian's football team.
Ohio State on offense, 5th in EPA per rush, 1st in EPA per dropback. Texas's defense, 6th in EPA per rush, 3rd in EPA per dropback. Switching sides, Texas's offense, 9th in EPA per rush, 6th in EPA per dropback. Ohio State's defense, 3rd and 2nd in those metrics. Exactly what we expected. Slugfest. So I agree with you. It's going to come down to the margins. Will Howard has been so good for Ohio State recently. Does the carriage turn back into a pumpkin? You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. We talked about this on the NFL side. Like, everybody's just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop for Sam Darnold, for some of these coaches, Todd Bowles, Baker Mayfield for a while. It was like, whoa, they're doing good now, but we're just waiting for it to turn. And that's kind of the feeling surrounding Will Howard, right? It's like, okay, yes, they went and got him in the transfer portal, and he didn't quite provide what they were expecting out of him early on. But, oh, my God, this is what they were thinking. This is the exact Will Howard they went and got, somebody that was shredding up the Big 12, and now he's translated to the Big 10 in his 5th year. That's the equation here. Is he going to be able to do that? Is Chip Kelly going to be able to call the game to that point? Is Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka going to be able to win their one-on-ones again? And history would suggest they can. On the flip side, they're going to be able to run the football because this Texas defense is really good at stuffing the run. They're physical up front. They're physical in the trenches. They are built to stop teams. We just saw them do that to Georgia. And I'm sorry, just saw them do that to
we saw him do it to Arizona State for most of the game.
For the most, 𝐃𝐨𝐽 got his, right? But, he got freaking 30 carries. The dam's going to break. And is Chip Kelly going to be able to do enough of, like, just pounding his head into the wall? Or else is he going to go somewhere else? So is he going to be patient enough to do that? That's what I'm weighing here. Quinn Ewers probably is the biggest X factor of the entire thing. I'm with you. Can he play mistake-free football while also bringing the other elements of attacking the ball, attacking down the field, being able to push it, being able to move the ball at a pace where Texas can keep up with Ohio State if Ohio State is scoring? So I'm with you in agreement. I think Quinn Ewers is the biggest question mark heading in.
Yeah, and my last little note here on this game, Ohio State has the best red zone defense in the country. And Texas has the 73rd best red zone offense in the country. We've seen Quinn Ewers throw interceptions down there. We've seen this offense fumble the football, not be able to punch it in. We've seen drives in and field goals that should have been touchdowns, whether it was Louisiana Monroe, or the Georgia the first time. I think that is going to be the biggest thing here. And Texas has the athletes to be able to score on everybody from 5 yards away. So, if all things click, then absolutely they can do that. But this season has shown us that, it's 3 points a trip when you enter the red zone against Ohio State. That's tough sledding.
Tyson, we only have these 2 games. We only have 3 more games left. It's kind of hard to imagine here in college football. God, there's just so many that goes on every weekend, and we're almost to the end. But that does not mean we are done betting. We've had a great bowl season, great postseason. We're going to try to keep it rolling here. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is.
It's money-making time.
Okay, I'm going to throw it to you first. Let's keep this rolling. Who are you going with in the Penn State and Notre Dame game?
Give me James Franklin to go play for the national championship. Penn State money line. I think that Penn State wins this football game. I think Notre Dame's had a heck of a season, and honestly, it's flipped my perception of this program quite a bit. It's flipped my perception of Marcus Freeman and the way that this thing is going to go for Notre Dame for the next decade plus if they have their druthers there. I just think Penn State's better, and I still think Penn State's a little slept on in the national thing. This is a team that, since the start of the college football playoff, has had a chance to win this whole dang tournament, and they're still being slept on a little bit. I think they go in there and they win this football game.
Tyson, I'm with you. Penn State is going to win this game. A lot of people, they're talking about this is the worst team left. Oh, look what Notre Dame did to Georgia. Look what Ohio State did to Oregon. And they're just sleep. Oh, Penn State should have beaten SMU and Boise State. It's just another under the radar moment here for the Nittany Lions. Penn State would have beaten that Georgia team. We talked about this last week. If Georgia didn't have that logo on their helmet and it was, Georgia State or somebody, it was the same team.
Nobody was Indiana. People would have complained and complained and complained.
Exactly. And yet now we're giving Notre Dame credit. Listen, they had to go out and win that football game. They did a great job. Nobody's taken that away. But I think Penn State is set up for success here. I think they're the better football team. I think they're going to prove that. Give me Penn State money line plus 105. That is on BetMGM.
In the other game, Brad, we're finally going to have a little dissension here. You're 1-0 against me in the college football playoffs with the dissension. I got to get my lick back, man. I'm going with Ohio State to cover the spread here. I think the red zone is too big of a deal. I don't think Quinn Ewers plays mistake-free football. I would love for the kid to show up and throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns against Ohio State, where he initially committed to, if you remember all those years ago, and then he bounces out, goes to Texas, and it's been up and down, but he's in the second semifinals in a row. I think Ohio State is going to roll here, and honestly, Brad, I'm comfortable with this number. If you want to play an alt line at 9.5, that's plus 135 on FanDuel, go for it, because I think that Ohio State's going to win this game by 2 scores.
Wow. Well, okay. So Tyson alluded to it. I'm taking Texas plus 6. That's minus 110 on DraftKings. So Tyson's laying 6.5 on FanDuel. He wants to go 5.5, on FanDuel. Going to go all the way up. He's going to have some alt action, but for the official play, he's going to lay at 5.5. It's the best number that we found. I'm going to take the 6 here. I think Texas is going to be able to control this football. I think Texas is going to be able to run the ball. I think Texas is going to be able to stop the run on the other side. It's going to come down to who do I take at the quarterback position, Quinn Ewers or Will Howard. Tyson, I know we have our differences with Quinn Ewers and all that, and we like to criticize him. We just, don't quite think he's the NFL guy that he was billed to be. But with that being said, I think he's still more talented than Will Howard. I think he's going to be able to do enough in this football game to live up to the hype that he's had so far. This is the time that somebody like Quinn Ewers is supposed to take Texas to the next level. They do that here. Oh, and Ohio State. Everybody's believing in them now. Tyson, this team is so good. Before it was they stink. They lost to Michigan. Tennessee's going to roll them. Oh, my God, they can't handle it. Oh, they win that one, but they're not going to beat Oregon. No way, Oregon's the best team. And they just destroy both of them. Now it's like, whoa, Ohio State's the best team we've ever seen. And that's when Ryan Day crumbles like a cheap suit. And so we'll see that here. And it's pretty tough that 𝐼𝐸𝐾 on the sideline who likes to fold like a cheap tent. And so it's tough here. But I'm going to go with Texas. I'm going to take the points, and let's try to get this home.
Yeah, I think if you're at home and you're keeping score here, Brad has his alma mater going to play in the national championship game, and he has his fingers crossed that he's not seeing scarlet and gray on the other sideline. That's what I'm picking up from this.
Yeah, I could not handle not only losing the national championship, but to be to Ohio State. That might just be the end of it.
Let's cross that bridge when we get there. In the meantime, any sport, any play that you have, whether it's a future on the NFL draft or if you want to get on the NFL playoffs, let us know who you're picking in these college football playoff games. Hop in the Discord. Is the group name as I said what I said. The link is in the bio. We'll let you right in. It's free. Good little community we built up in there. Go play college basketball. Go bet Duke minus 25.5, and you're cashing most of these tickets here. It's been a fun start to that season. We're going to get way more into that as the football season here kind of wraps up. But yeah, hop in the Discord. It's free.
And on that note, like, subscribe, and share. Like Tyson said, we are switching gears. It's not just going to be football stuff that we do. We do a ton of basketballs. We get ready for the NBA stuff and college basketball. I mean, it's 2 months till March Madness. I mean, Guys, if you thought the football season was flying, we're right in the conference play, and we're going to have conference tournaments in 2 months. So get ready. Once we get back, once I get back, I'm this wedding this weekend. I'm freaking full, putting my head down. We're going to get ready for basketball season. It's going to be good. We still got you covered on the NFL side. Playoffs are just getting started. We'll have picks coming out. We're breaking down games over there. So that's why you got to stay subscribed. Like if you are watching on YouTube, for this in podcast form, 5 stars if you haven't already. Just helps us become more discoverable, helps us out, all that good stuff. And finally, share it with a friend, share it with somebody you hate. It doesn't matter to us, but we appreciate everything you guys do for us and tuning in. We'll be back later talking some NFL. So we'll talk to you guys then. Peace.